You've been running for months, maybe years, and you're still gassing out at mile 4, still feeling like your lungs are on fire, still watching people pass you who look like they're barely trying. And the worst part? You think you just need to push harder. That's the mistake. That's exactly the mistake.
Subscribe to the channel! Click the button and subscribe now. Don't miss out, subscribe today!
Let me ask you something. When was the last time you finished a run and thought, that felt too easy? If the answer is never, we need to talk. Because the number one error I see in runners, and I'm talking 90% of the people lacing up every single day, has nothing to do with pace, nothing to do with your shoes, nothing to do with your playlist. It's about how hard you're running when you shouldn't be, and how soft you're going when you should be pushing. You've been living in the gray zone, that dead middle ground where you're too fast to recover and too slow to actually get stronger, and it's killing your progress silently. Stop. Think about that for a second. You wake up, you run, you suffer through it, and you call that training. You've been told no pain, no gain your entire life. Coaches yelled it, gym culture screams it, social media rewards the suffering face. But here's the cold, hard, physiological truth. That phrase is not just wrong, it is actively working against you. When you run too hard too often, your body doesn't adapt into a machine. It breaks down into a liability. Your cortisol spikes, your mitochondria, the tiny power plants inside. Every muscle cell, they stop growing. They start shrinking. You're not building a better runner. You're just accumulating fatigue and calling it progress. Ridiculous. Here's the reality check nobody gives you on day one. Your body has 3 systems that determine everything about your running performance. And if you don't understand all 3, you're flying blind. First is VO2 max. Think of it as your engine size. It's the maximum amount of oxygen your body can consume and use during intense exercise. Big engine, big potential. But here's what most people miss. Having a big engine means absolutely nothing if your car breaks down every 20 minutes. That's where the second system comes in. Lactate threshold. This is the point where your body starts producing lactate faster than it can clear it. When you blow past this threshold, your muscles flood with metabolic byproducts, your legs turn to concrete, and your pace falls apart. Elite runners don't win because they have the biggest engines. They win because their engines can run at high speed without falling apart. That's the lactate threshold doing its job. We'll go deep on that one next week because it deserves its own conversation. But for now, hold that thought. And the third system, the one most runners completely ignore, is running economy. Think of it as fuel efficiency. 2 runners with the same VO2 max, same lactate threshold, but one burns 20% less energy per stride. Who wins? Every single time the efficient one. Running economy is about biomechanics, about cadence, about how your foot strikes the ground, about whether you're bouncing vertically instead of moving forward. It's the difference between a Ferrari and a Prius at the same engine size. You want to be the runner who goes farther on the same tank. Now here's where it gets interesting. And this is the part that most running apps, most generic training plans, and most online coaches completely get wrong. 80% of your weekly mileage should feel almost embarrassingly easy. I mean conversational. I mean you could recite the alphabet backwards while running. That's not a joke. That's mitochondrial adaptation. When you run in zone 2, that low-intensity aerobic zone where your heart rate is roughly 60 to 70% of max, your body responds by building more mitochondria, more of them, denser networks of them inside your muscle cells. And mitochondria are the factories that convert oxygen into usable energy. More factories means more power, more endurance, more efficiency at higher efforts. You are literally rewiring your aerobic engine from the inside, but it only happens at low intensity. Your body does not build these factories when it's in crisis mode, gasping for air, wondering when the run ends. It builds them when it has space to adapt. The other 20%, that's where you push. Hard intervals, tempo efforts. That's what teaches your body to perform at high output. But it only works on top of a solid aerobic base. Without the base, the hard work just beats you up. With the base, the hard work transforms you. Be honest with yourself. Are you actually doing 80% of your runs easy? Or does every run feel like a battle you barely survive? Let's talk about breathing. Because this is the one thing that will change your very next run if you apply it today. You know that burning feeling in your chest when you're running hard? That tightness, that desperate gasping. Most runners think their lungs are running out of oxygen. They're wrong. What's actually happening is a buildup of carbon dioxide. Your body is producing CO2 faster than you're exhaling it, and your brain interprets that as a threat. It triggers the panic response. Your breathing gets shallow, choppy, erratic. And shallow breathing means you're not fully emptying your lungs, which means you can't take a full breath in, which means the CO2 keeps piling up and the panic keeps growing. Here's the fix. Forced exhalations, active, deliberate exhales where you push the air out hard. Think of squeezing a bag. You exhale completely, and then the inhale happens automatically, fully, naturally. Your lungs fill without effort. The CO2 clears, the panic drops, your rhythm returns. And when you combine this with a breathing pattern called rhythmic breathing, inhaling for 3 footsteps, exhaling for 2, something clicks. The pattern gives your nervous system a signal. It says, I am in control. I am not dying. I am running. 3 steps in, 2 steps out. Try it tomorrow, and pay attention to when the panic starts. Because that's not a fitness problem. That's a breathing pattern problem, and it's fixable immediately. Now let's build something practical. 8 weeks. Not a magic formula, not a miracle protocol. Just 8 weeks of doing what actually works. Weeks 1 through 3, you slow everything down. I mean everything. If you're running a 10-minute mile as your comfortable pace, I want you running at 11:30, 12 minutes per mile. Yes, that's slow. You might feel like you're moving backwards. You're not. You're building the aerobic base that makes everything else possible. Most of your runs this block are Zone 2. Long, slow, boring by ego standards, transformative by physiological ones. You plant the factories. Weeks 4 and 5, you start adding tempo efforts, not sprints, not all-out intervals. Tempo runs at roughly 85 to 90% of your maximum effort. What coaches call threshold pace. You should be able to say 3 or 4 words, but holding a conversation is out of the question. These are the efforts that push your lactate threshold higher. Longer before the breakdown, more real estate before the wall. 1 tempo session per week. Keep the rest easy. Weeks 6 through 8, you add long intervals. 4 to 6 repetitions of hard effort with recovery jogs in between. These tax the VO2 max system. They force your body to perform at or near its ceiling, then recover, then do it again. This is where the engine size grows, but it only grows this effectively because you already built the base underneath it. Without weeks 1 through 5, this block just leaves you injured. And here's the one workout the entire running community ignores. The one people skip because it sounds too simple to matter. The easy long run, not race simulation, not a progression run, just a long, genuinely easy run at conversational pace. Once a week. Every week. This is where your aerobic system consolidates everything. Where your tendons, ligaments, and connective tissue adapt to mileage without the stress of intensity. where your body learns to burn fat more efficiently, preserve glycogen longer, and go farther without falling apart. Skipping the easy long run is like skipping sleep and wondering why you can't think clearly. It's not glamorous, it doesn't make for a good Instagram post, and it might be the single most important workout you're not doing. Here's your real moment of truth. Next time you lace up, ask yourself which zone you're actually in. Not which zone you want to be in, which zone your body is actually operating in. If you can't hold a conversation, you're going too hard for a recovery day. If you're pushing and your breathing is choppy and your form is falling apart, you've already blown past your lactate threshold. And if you haven't done an honest, slow, easy, long run in the past 2 weeks, that's it. That's why you're not improving. Not your shoes, not your genetics, not your schedule. The pattern of how you distribute your effort is the entire game, and now you know the rules. Next week, we go deep into the second pillar, lactate threshold. Why your body actually hits the wall, what's chemically happening in your muscles when you fall apart at mile 10, and exactly how to push that threshold back so you can hold pace longer, suffer less, and finish strong instead of surviving. It's the piece of the puzzle most runners never get, and it changes everything about how you train. You do not want to miss that one. If this conversation hit different today, subscribe. Not because the algorithm needs it, because your next run deserves better than what you've been giving it. See you next week.